Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're making a Taiwanese braised beef shank. This is a very simple dish that is made with a budget-friendly cut of beef, and it is great for meal prep as well. As usual, I'll show you the recipe and explain it to you step by step on how does each step work, so you can truly understand the process to avoid failure. Check it out. Recently, the price of the egg in the United States not only skyrocketed, but it also made the headline of many different countries around the world. Although this crazy egg price hike is mainly due to the bird flu, but inflation definitely did its job as well. And I believe this changed a lot of people's shopping habit and choice of produce every week. Even though I'm a big fan of steak, but the price has been pretty expensive originally, and now it is just simply unaffordable for a lot of people. But us beef lovers still need to eat, and today I'm going to show you how to use an inexpensive cut of beef and some Taiwanese cooking technique to create a simple and affordable beef recipe for easy meal prep. This recipe will save you both money and time, and remember, time is money too. And besides the usual step-by-step guide, make sure you stick to the end of the video where I teach you how to use this simple recipe to make 3 different simple meal prep at home. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at our ingredients today. Screenshot! Here's the ingredient that we'll need for today's recipe. We'll need 2 whole beef shank, or however much you want to make at the same time, some scallion, cilantro, chili, and ginger, a stick of cassia, aka Chinese cinnamon, 2 star anise, and besides that, we'll also need some rock sugar. If you don't have it, you can use normal cane sugar. For the sauce, we'll need sesame oil, soy sauce, and Shaoxing cooking wine, also some water. Today, I'm also braising some daikon radish using the braised broth. This is not required, but I do like to eat radish with my beef shank recipe, so you should give it a try too. Other than radish, you can also add in other stuff to braise with this, such as pressed tofu or peeled boiled egg, kwonbu for example. But radish is the most simple one to do, so we'll stick with that today. Now, as you can see, that the main ingredient today is obviously the beef shank, aka beef ossobuco. Beef shank is a relatively inexpensive cut of beef in the US, making it a popular choice for meal prep if you know how to cook it right. Beef shank comes from the leg of a cow, and it's a tough cut of meat because the leg muscle are repeatedly used during walking. Beef shank is very lean and contains lots of muscular fibers, making it commonly used for stew and braised recipes. The long cooking period helps break down the muscular fiber and tenderize the meat. You can often find beef shank with the bone still attached in the grocery store, but a boneless shank like this can be found in most Asian supermarkets. Fresh shank has a bright red color and a delicate appearance. It is an excellent beef part to make lean ground beef, and it is also used in Cajun beef gumbo. In Asia, it is used in Japanese beef soup, Taiwanese beef noodle, and Vietnamese beef pho. The Italian ossobuco, French beef bourguignon, and Hungarian goulash are all made with beef shank. So even though the cut is pretty cheap, with a good recipe, you can 100% make a great dish out of it. And that's what we're doing here today. Now, first things first, let's prep our ingredients. Today we're using a whole boneless beef shank from our local Asian supermarket. Because we're going to slice them into thin slices later, so if there's a bone in the center, it will be harder to do that. If you don't have an Asian grocery store nearby, you can call your local butcher shop for the specific cut. A very important part of prepping the beef shank like this is to remove the connective tissue on the surface of the shank. It is also known as the tendon. Generally, store-bought beef shank has already had the white tendon removed. However, if not, we can use a small knife to slice them off and clean them up. These tendons are 100% edible and can be thrown into the braised beef to enhance the broth's flavor. They generally require double the cooking time as the beef shank on this recipe. If your beef shank comes with a lot of tendon, you can definitely take out the beef when it's done and cook double amount of time for the tendon in the same braised broth. However, the cut we got today is pretty clean, so we'll skip that part. For the other ingredients, the prepping step is very simple. Just remove the stem from your chili, get your ginger slice, cut the scallion into 2-inch pieces, and remove the stem of the cilantro. Last but not least, wash and peel your daikon radish and cut it into 1/2 inch thick slices. And you can set it aside. both the amount of beef shank and radish is not set to a certain amount, you can cook as much as you want at the same time as long as the broth is covering all of the ingredient while you put it into the Instant Pot. Now all the ingredients are ready, let's start cooking. Heat up your wok and turn the heat to medium. Add some sesame oil as well as your ginger slices and let the oil force out the flavor and aroma of the ginger. Sesame oil cannot stand too high of a temperature or else it will get bitter, so make sure you're using medium or low heat on this step. Keep stir frying until they start to curl up a little bit like this. You can add in your acacia, star anise, and scallion. Generally stir fry them until fragrant. Make sure there's enough oil in the wok to release the spices aroma. And then next you can add in your rock sugar and keep frying until it's mostly dissolved. The sugar will balance the saltiness of the soy sauce, and also the pre-cooked sugar before we add in water can also caramelize it and give it some extra flavor in the broth. Although my rock sugar today is pretty gigantic, so I'm not gonna wait till it all dissolves, but most of them have already broke down, so I think this is good. We'll add in our soy sauce and wait for it to bubble up before we add water. Just like other herbs, the soy sauce has to come in direct contact with the heat. But be careful, don't burn it. As soon as the outer ring of the soy sauce starts bubbling, we can add in some of our water. By adding a little water can help transferring all these ingredients into the Instant Pot. Pour it right into your pot and you can add in your remaining water, some salt, and Shaoxing wine. The total amount of soy sauce to water ratio is 12:1, and the soy sauce and Shaoxing wine are 1:1. The reason why we use both salt and soy sauce in the recipe is because if you use the soy sauce to build up the saltiness for the whole pot, the overall soy sauce flavor will be way too strong. And if you want to keep the flavor light without using salt, it will not be salty enough. And most of a Chinese beef recipe or a pork recipe, you will see us using Shaoxing wine to balance out or remove the gaminess. Finally, our broth is ready, and now while it's still cool, let's add in our beef shank and radish. Set the Instant Pot to low pressure cook, 1 hour on low heat, and turn off the keep warm option. We don't need that. If you don't have a pressure cooker, you can also cook it on stove for 2.5 hours. You just have to make sure during the whole process, all of your ingredients are covered with the broth. Within the 2.5 hour cooking time, I'll check at least 3 to 4 times just to be safe. After time's up, we'll let the pressure release naturally for around 20 minutes for most of its pressure. With the stove, just keep the lid on for 20 minutes before you open it up. This soaking time will let the beef slowly absorb more juices to it. Now when the time's up, use a chopsticks to poke into the beef. If it goes through easily like this, it's ready. Wow, look at how much it shrank. Super cool, right? Now, if you want to eat it right away, I wouldn't stop you, but the best Taiwanese beef shank have to be soaked in the fridge overnight before cutting. Just use a lid to cover up the whole pot and put it straight into your fridge. Taiwanese braised beef shank are traditionally eaten as a cold plate with some dipping sauce. But in general, food tastes way better while hot than cold because the reaction of TRPM5 in our taste bud is much more intense when the temperature of food or fluid is increased. This sends a stronger electric signal to our brain, resulting in an enhanced taste. So to serve this dish cold, we'll have to let the meat absorb all the good flavor from the broth by soaking it in the juice for at least 12 hours in the fridge. Now it is the second day, let's cut open our beef and see how it goes. Wow, look at that beautiful marble pattern inside. The shank has been in the fridge overnight. It is super easy to slice now. Just cut it into the thickness you prefer. I like it around 1/4 of an inch thick and serve it with the radish. And done! The Taiwanese braised beef shank is ready. Plate the portion that you are eating today and freeze the rest in serving portion for future usage. This beef can be stored in the freezer for up to a month and 1 week in the fridge. I recommend you to only freeze your beef shank but not the radish because there's so much water content in a radish. As long as you freeze it and defrost after, it will just disappear. If you don't like radish, you can also make a dipping sauce by thickening the broth on your stove. Add in some scallion, cilantro, chili, and some extra salt if needed. Dip it for extra flavor. And here is a promised meal prep for you at the end of the video. These are my go-to way of eating the Taiwanese braised beef shank. You can eat it hot, served on rice with some veggie, eat it cold like a snack that we just did, wrap it in a bun with some soy sauce paste and lettuce and make it a guo bao, or even peel it into smaller pieces and make a taco out of it. In this case, I'm making a Taiwanese breakfast egg roll right now. The light seasoning on the beef make it easy to pair with any dish, so just be creative and share me in the comment down below how are you prepare to eat your Taiwanese braised beef shank. Enjoy! The word of the day today is 卤牛肉, braised beef. 卤牛肉. Thank you for cooking with me to the end. Let me know if you like this recipe by giving this video a thumbs up. It's only gonna take you a second, but it means a lot to me. I make a YouTube video twice a week now, so make sure you hit the bell so you'll never miss out. Last but not least, don't forget to subscribe on my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!